year after year after year, you're going to hang on to all this bitterness, and it's going to prevent you from. What's up, guys? So I'm currently celebrating my Passover. It's a feast of the Bible, and I'm comparing the first Passover in Exodus to the Last Supper in the New Testament. And I'm looking at similarities between the first feast and what happened in the New Testament. So one thing that stuck out in particular to me, which is the bitter herbs. Of course, when we roast our lamb for Passover, we eat it with bitter herbs. And we see that in the New Testament, not so much in the Last Supper, but we see it in when Yeshua or Jesus was crucified. And when he's on the cross or the tree, they give him the bitter herbs. They give him some wine mixed with gall, which is actually the same word in Greek, which means bitter. They also do it a second time when they're going to take him down. They give him a sponge soaked with vinegar, which is also bitter. So what's the purpose of that? And it's in relation to this actual channel, because when I first made this channel, Quitting Mary, of course, Mary signifies quitting cannabis or marijuana. But I'm like, I kind of boxed myself in if I want to discuss other things. But when I went back to a Hebrew root study of Mary and where the root word came from in Hebrew, I think it still fits perfectly with this channel. So when we look at the Hebrew of Mary, the root word is mar or mara, which means to be bitter, to be enraged, to be discontented, or to be troubled. And I pondered on that, and it's a lot of times why we can't move forward in life because we are bitter. Now we look at the English definition of the word bitter. Bitter meaning to be angry, hurt, or resentful based on a bad experience or trauma, or feeling like you were treated unjustly. And a lot of times we do find ourselves stuck in life, stuck in a rut, stuck in a spot because we are so bitter on the inside. So when I said quitting Mary, quitting bitterness, hold on guys. So when I look at it as if we're quitting resentment, quitting bitterness, that makes sense, just like if we're quitting marijuana. Because if we're quitting weed, it's not just you quitting weed, you're smoking weed because you're trying to mask some type of thing going on that happened in your past, whether it's bad experience, whether it's anxiety, it's depression. These things are caused from past experiences. So first thing I would say, what is the root cause that's causing you to be bitter, causing you to be enraged? In most cases, we can trace back these things to our childhood, to our parents, to our youth. There's some reason that's causing us to feel like we're being treated unfair, we're unjust, or we're troubled. And if we hang on to these feelings, it doesn't allow us to actually move forward in our lives. When we look at the Bible and the New Testament and Yeshua specifically, when he would not drink the wine mixed with this bitterness, he had every reason to be bitter. I mean, people are turning against him. They're trying to twist his words. They have beat him. He's being charged of false accusations. If anybody has a reason to be enraged by unjust treatment, it's him. But him not drinking that is him not accepting that, him coming knowing what his purpose for, and him not accepting that bitterness like we humans sometimes do. We take it and we hang on to it. Heard the term trauma bonding. We a lot of times like to bond on trauma. Not saying we shouldn't acknowledge we have trauma or acknowledge bad things that have happened in our life, but if we continue to hang on to those things and hold them tight and dear and make those a part of our life, a part of our existence, it prevents us from moving to a new point in life. So find out why you're bitter. Find out where it's coming from. We don't do anything, we don't think anything just for no apparent reason. There is a background reason for anything that we do in life. And a lot of times we will go through life just trying to either pacify ourselves or numb ourselves or distract ourselves versus actually facing the problem. It's more comfortable to actually stick in that bitterness, to stick in that resentment versus letting it go and moving forward. Because we also feel like if we are resentful about something or someone, we like to play the victim card. We'll say, well, I'm in this position because so-and-so did this, or my partner did this, or my parents did this, and we use that as an excuse why we aren't in the position that we feel like we should be in. But you're giving the person, you're giving the situation, you're giving the trauma so much power in your life. We should acknowledge it, but we shouldn't hold on to it and allow it to define our current existence. For example, we may have not been raised we may not have been raised in the best situations. Our parents may have not been there. They worked too much. They abused us. The list can go on and on. We have parents that appear to be good, but they're not. Some that are blatantly bad. But we grow up and realize what our parents did wrong, realize that what they did probably was not best for our upbringing. We have two choices. We can hang on to that and play the blame game and blame them and say, oh, it's all your fault. I'm here because of you. I can't move forward because of you. Or we can say, I acknowledge that. I recognize it happened. And a lot of times we can recognize why it happened. And you have to decide, I'm not going to let this define me. But a lot of times we tend to hold on to that bitterness, hold on to that resentment. And self-consciously, we don't move forward in life. When we do decide to let go of that bitterness, it makes life so much lighter. It makes life so much freer. We can actually move forward and depend on ourselves. Because if we're basing what we do on something that we cannot control, or something that we could not control, or something that's in the past, you can never move forward in life. But when we accept that and let it go, it does allow us to live a freer life, a life free to explore, free to be our own person, to be our most authentic self, and not be so defined by bad experiences that we have always linked ourselves to. And then in so many cases, we pass this trauma down, we pass this bitterness down. Sometimes these things have been passed down for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 generations, and we have become so used to them, we think they are normal. But the longer we hold on to these things, they just manifest into so much more. That's why people do tend to, like I said, use more drugs, whether it's actual drugs or alcohol or narcotics or sex or porn or weed or whatever. We use these things to numb our bitterness, to numb our resentment, versus actually putting everything out on the table, facing it, that will allow us to move forward. A lot of times we like to hold on to this trauma, to these bad experiences, and just keep them in our closet, keep them packed away, and we don't like to face them. But if you do that year after year after year, you're going to hang on to all this bitterness, and it's going to prevent you from not moving forward in your life and not being the best person that you can possibly be. So just on an ending note, if you have bitterness, if you have resentment, face it, put it on the table, acknowledge it, and don't hold on to it. Say, I'm not going to let this situation, this trauma, this bad experience define me. I'm going to use it to be a better person. I'm not saying we have to ignore it, but we can't just wear it like a badge of honor our whole life. That will keep us in a certain spot, keep us feeling like we're a victim. And if we always view ourselves as a victim, that's just not gonna promote us to actually be a better person and pursue the most ultimate goals we can in our life. So, what do you guys think? Maybe it's me. I know it's not me. I know Hebraically, if you hold on to those bitter herbs, it's going to hold you back. Just like the people in the Bible, in the Old Testament, They traveled around in the wilderness for 40 years in circles and died. Let's not go around for 40 years and die and pass it on to our kids and let them deal with it. Let's face it now. Let's get over it. Let's quit playing the victim card and let's aim for a better life. Your future self will thank you. Peace.